The tank engine, for its size, is the most versatile thing on the rails. And the tender engines are the power behind the expresses and the goods trains that go all over the island of Silver. This is NWR Stories. Return and worry. The summer season was coming to a close with the beginning of August. This meant multiple things. This meant that a lot of the tourists on the island were returning to their homes, leaving the island with its usual citizens to carry around the island. Most engines were happy during this time of year, except one. Edward, who was upset about the Fat Controller's recent medical news. He wanted to tell someone, but he couldn't because he swore to the Fat Controller that he wouldn't speak to anyone about it. He tried his best to hide the fact that he was upset, but the engines knew him very well. He wasn't being the kind and gentle Edward he was. He was more of a quiet, reserved type. The engines thought it was time to finally get Edward to spill the beans. Rebecca and Andy felt this was the right time, seeing him couple up to his coaches. "Good morning, Edward. How are you doing today?" "I'm only asking because you look as blue as your paint," said Andy, trying to make a joke. But instead of laughing, Edward kind of looked quiet and reserved as usual. "Edward, did you hear his joke? I thought it was pretty funny. Don't you?" said Rebecca. Again, Edward stood silent, not speaking at all. Rebecca, who lost patience, decided to take matters into her own buffers, and she blew her whistle very loud. Edward was shooken and said, "Wait, what's going on?" said Edward, surprised. Why didn't I think of that?" said Andy. "Beats me. But Edward, finally we got your attention. What's wrong with you? You've been acting very quiet and reserved. You've barely been talking to any of us lately," said Rebecca. "Oh, I don't know. I have a lot of emotions running through my smoke box at the moment, and I just don't know what to do with them," said Edward quietly. "Well, maybe it will be better if you just spoke about it," said Rebecca. "She does have a point, Edward. We are a family on this railway, and it's only best if we just speak about it." "It's not that simple," said Edward. "I really wish I can tell you, but I can't." The two engines were about to try again at getting Edward to speak his mind, and suddenly they heard two whistles. Both of them sounded very familiar. "That can't be. Oh my, he's back," said Andy. "Yes, indeed." And they were right. Two Gresley Pacifics came puffing into the station. One was painted apple green, while the other was Northwestern blue. The Northwestern Railway's number 4 has returned from his overhaul. "Golden? Is that you?" said Andy.
Yes, it is. My, is it great to be back.
Yes. Your overhaul looks nice. You don't look that different, but it still looks nice, said Rebecca.
Edward, who stood there in shock, smiled for the first time in a while.
Gordon, it's good to have you back. We've missed you terribly, said Edward.
It's great to be back, said Gordon.
And welcome back to Sodor, Scotsman. We're always glad to have your visits, said
Edward.
It is good to see you as well, Edward. You Sodor engines always know how to make an engine feel at home. Now, we can't stop. We must meet the Fat Controller to discuss a certain event coming up.
Ta-ta! And with a toot of his whistle, Scotsman and Gordon chuffed off. Edward, with a toot of his whistle, left the station not long afterward. The engines were still wondering what could they do to make the number 2 engine talk, but they had no ideas. Later that day, the Fat Controller held a meeting at the turntable. Here he was going to make the big announcement that would lead to the next few weeks' events. "Can I have everyone's attention, please?" said the Fat Controller. "Now that everyone is quiet, I would like to first welcome Gordon back from his overhaul. We have missed you. And now the railway is whole again. And my next announcement is that I will be hosting a rail tour gala, starring some of Gresley's famous Pacifics, that being Flying Scotsman and Gordon. And we also have one more visitor coming to the railway," announced the Fat Controller. Sir, I thought it was only me and Scotsman coming back for the gala. Who else is joining us?" said Gordon, curiously. "Well, I'm glad you asked," said the Fat Controller. "Our visitor is actually almost here now." And it's right after the Fat Controller said that a familiar whistle was heard in the distance. "Oh, not that silver boiler again," said Gordon. Henry looked in the distance and saw what Gordon was talking about. Oh dear, this is not going to be good," replied Henry. A silver A4 passed through the junction and stopped right in front of the turntable. "Hello, Sodor. It is I, Spencer the Silver A4, and it's good to be back." All the engines shared a collective groan because they knew how Spencer was, but they greeted him nonetheless. "Now, I hope you guys are looking forward to the gala that we're hosting. And please remember to be on your best behavior, because this is still a railway after all. And please do your best to..." Suddenly, his speech was interrupted with another cough. "My word, sir, are you all right?" said Gordon. "That cough wasn't there when I was here." Yes, Gordon, I'm fine. I just need to go get a drink of water, and I will be all right." Gordon had heard the cough too, and it made Edward very, very uneasy when holding the secret.
What am I going to do now?" said Edward.
The next morning, Edward was getting ready to pull his early morning passenger trains, while Donald and Douglas pulled by with a goods train. Then not long after they passed, Gordon had backed onto the express, feeling pleased to be back. "Oh, it feels good to be back on the island. after so many months away.
Yes, nobody pulls the express like you do, Gordon. Henry, Rebecca, and even Hero tried. Well, they did a pretty good job. Let me be generous. And even Andy tried his best. But the passengers sure missed you, said Edward.
That's pretty good. I'm glad that the express was in good hands. But I do have a question to ask you, Edward. Is the fat controller okay? 'Cause that cough did not sound good, said Gordon, concerned.
Yeah. He's okay. I hope so, said Edward.
Edward, are you alright? Said Gordon.
I'm fine. I got to go. My train leaves now. I have to leave with my train now. And with a toot of his whistle, Edward left the station.
Something's not right with Edward. Not right at all, said Gordon.
Now that Gordon noticed that something was going on with Edward, Edward did not know how long he could keep the secret for. It was becoming such an ordeal for Edward. He didn't know what to do. It was becoming too much for the little old blue engine. It got worse over the next few days. Engines would chuff up to Edward and ask him what is wrong, but Edward would simply say nothing and then chuff away with whatever train he was pulling. Other engines tried, but Edward still wouldn't budge. Edward would just keep brushing them off, even while they were even trying to ask him about anything. Gordon decided that it was time to take the matters into his own buffers. He met Edward at the station while Edward was getting ready to take his morning train.
All right, Edward. What's been going on with you? Why have you not been talking to the other engines? Said Gordon.
I really don't think this is the best time, said Edward. Besides, I can't tell anyone, said Edward.
Edward, we've known each other for over 90 years. So come on, this is not the time to hold secrets, said Gordon, asserting his position.
I can't tell you. And Edward soon shot forward. His passengers weren't even in his coaches yet. But then there was trouble. Spencer was coming down a line with a test train, but Edward didn't notice this.
I say, Edward, look out, said Spencer.
The signalman changed the points, and Spencer was diverted onto a different track. But then there was trouble. Edward had hit his rear coach while moving forward and was derailed. Spencer was able to bring the other two coaches to the platform, but the third coach was knocked off the rails by Edward. Luckily, there were no passengers in Spencer's train, but Edward felt silly and hurt. Edward was soon put back on the rails and backed up with his train. He felt very silly indeed.
Edward, said Gordon, taking a deep breath. I'm sorry for making you feel pressured to answer my question. If you don't want to tell me, it's fine. I completely understand.
No, maybe I do need to tell someone. Maybe it will take a weight off my buffers. Meet me here tonight, said Edward. Will do, said Gordon. And with a toot of his whistle, Edward left the station with his train, with no issues this time. Later, Flying Scotsman was sitting in the yard having a rest when Gordon pulled up right beside him. "Oh, hey there, Gordon. You look miserable. What's wrong?" said Flying Scotsman. "Well, I just spoke to Edward about why he has been so miserable lately, and he says he's going to tell me why this afternoon." "Oh, that sounds pretty big news. Besides, I've kind of been noticing something about the Fat Controller. He's short in the breath, always holding his chest, and not to mention the coughing. You know, I hate to assume things, but I think it might be congestive heart. It might be heart disease or something like that." "You know what? You might not be wrong. You think Edward might say the same?" "I don't know, Gordon, but if you don't mind, I'm going to come with you tonight when he tells you." "Good. The more the merrier. Because Edward does need to know that the other engines support him. The only thing we just have to make sure is that we are the only ones that are there when the conversation is going on, because word gets around fast." That night, Gordon and Flying Scotsman were waiting at the station when Edward chuffed up and saw them. "Gordon, why is Scotsman here? I thought we were supposed to be talking about this, just me and you," said Edward, puzzled. "It's okay, Edward. I can trust Scotsman. He's a trusted ally." Edward took a deep breath and decided to speak. "Okay, so the reason why I have been very reclusive and not talking to anyone is because the Fat Controller has told me that he has heart disease. And, it doesn't really sound good. It might cause him to retire. And he doesn't want the news to get out because it might cause a panic on the railway," said Edward. "I knew it. I knew it. It was heart disease. Because you can tell by the way he stands and the way he holds his chest, and not to mention he sounds out of breath a lot." "You have a point there. I remember a certain person on my train was having something like that many years ago." "But what are we going to do?" said Gordon. "I don't know, but we need to keep it hush-hush, because if anyone finds out, it could cause an island-wide panic. And we need to just keep it between us three, okay?" "All right, Edward. You can trust both of us." "Indeed. We won't tell no one." But little did the engines know that someone else was listening to the conversation